There we go. All right, we're good to go. Hello, hello. Welcome to Real with Rachel. I'm a local Maryland real estate agent at RE/MAX, and I do a little show. I have some guests on.
Good morning.
Today we have Rich Stewart with JK Moving. Super excited. We're going to be talking all things moving. I'm going to be picking his brain. We're going to talk about what it takes to move, details, and we're just going to ask him some questions. We are live on the Mid-Atlantic TV YouTube page, so I'm also going to be watching for questions, if I can figure out how to do that this time. So we'll just kind of keep our eyes out. And then in the meantime, if you're watching a playback, feel free to put any questions down below, and we'll be sure to answer them. So hello.
Good morning, Rachel. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
I feel like a celebrity here.
I know, right? We're trying to be, all jazzed up. All right, so you are with a moving company, and you represent all things. You're the main point of contact when people want to set appointments and ask you questions. You are who they call, right, guys? So we'll make sure his contact's there. So you know the ins and outs of all things moving, which I think is the hardest part of all things real estate, to be honest. Nobody wants to move. So from what I've heard, you make it seamless. So I'm very excited to pick your brain and ask some questions. So you're with JK Moving, right?
That's right.
And is that local? Is it international? Is it global? What's the size of that company?
So that's a kind of an interesting story. JK Moving is a DC-based moving company that is the largest independent mover in the country. And we do have a sister company. It's called Capital Relocation, which has offices around the world. Beijing, London, a few other places.
Holy moly. All right, so you guys can handle. So if somebody, obviously being outside of DC and Baltimore, you're going to have a lot of international movement going on.
Not right now. That's what...
shut it down.
COVID has mostly impacted international moving, just so you know.
Are you serious? How interesting is that? But let's say outside of COVID times, let's say someone wanted to go from DC to India. I was going to say China, but then I was like, maybe that's not a good idea to say that. But let's say they wanted to go to India.
Sure.
Would they be able to contact and do all of that through you? Or would you at that point is that all something that JK can handle?
That's something that we do every day.
Awesome.
One of our biggest clients is the State Department, which moves ambassadors all over the world.
All right, we're doing a little bit of luxury moving over here.
But our biggest client is Walmart.
Are you serious? So that means that you do outside of just residential.
We do all sorts of moves. We've signed big contracts with laboratories.
Okay, I have to ask you because this is on my mind. Have you ever been called to a house to move items, like a big house, obviously, from one level to another in the same house?
Absolutely. Yep. We do, they're called staging moves a lot of times.
Oh, do you do staging moves?
We love staging moves.
Oh, interesting, guys. Listen to that. I didn't know that.
In fact, I have a meeting with a stager who can't keep good help. If you think a stager can't keep good moving help, you probably can imagine what happens with smaller moving companies.
Yes. And you guys are a big company, and I see the way that you treat your employees, so it sounds like you have a pretty good employee retention rate, which is good, because timing is of the essence, and having a smooth flow throughout a moving transition is key. And when you have a company that backs that, I think that's really important.
Yeah, we actually invested in a training center, so we have a townhouse in one of our warehouses.
Is that what I saw, I think, the other day? That was so awesome. I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, they've got like a little set, but that's an actual... So you've built a house... where your guys can practice beating up walls before they beat up everybody else's, but they don't because they practice.
Exactly, and they practice the protection.
That's pretty awesome.
We actually have a truck that's in there as well, so they take it out of the house and practice loading it into the truck so they avoid all the
yeah, I'm going to show a picture that was on his social media that I think is hilarious, and I'll show that when we get to the end because I want to ask him a question about that. But, all right, so you are full service. With that said, full service, do you guys typically do the wrapping and the packing? Do you offer that option? Like, hey, we'll come in, don't touch it. We're going to completely wrap it up, pack it up for you, put it on the truck, ship it and unpack and put it where it needs to be. Do you offer to that extent?
So we are a white glove company. That means to people that maybe are in an apartment, first time people, we might not be the right option for you because automatic, it's a standard for us that we're going to protect the doors, the floors, the main walkways.
Floors are a big one.
And then we're going to wrap up. Floors are a big one.
Floors are a
Don't
big
ask me
one.
about the floor I scratched over the weekend. I'm really sorry, Katie.
Oh, poor Katie.
So
Can be fixed.
it will be fixed, and that's what liability insurance
Yeah,
is
because I'm
for.
going to get into that about what types of insurance is. But
Absolutely.
well, I mean, heck, let's just talk about it right now. With that said, obviously each company has its own liability insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cars have their own car insurance. Do you suggest that, homeowners insurance covers stuff typically when it's in a house, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do if something happens in transition? Give me the rundown on insurance.
Insurance is a great question, and I want to be clear. We have liability insurance to cover the houses. So that means if somebody
Okay.
runs into your garage door by stepping on the gas instead of the brake, we got you covered up to $2 million automatic. It's happened plenty of times.
Should we just show the picture real quick?
Yeah,
All
show
right,
them the
hang
picture.
on, guys. I'm going to switch screens.
There's all sorts of horror stories.
Look at that, guys. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. I think we were all talking about that, conversating on this little incident that happened. Do we know how exactly that happened?
I believe somebody went over a bump too fast, slammed on their brakes, and cut the wheel at the same time. So
A little rollage.
yeah,
Hopefully nobody was hurt. Look, the telephone pole even got messed up. Look at that. Even the telephone pole, man.
yeah, the wires are down there.
Oh, look, it split. The whole pole, that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, choosing a professional is the right thing to do. Lesson learned. So you do suggest that they have a separate sort of insurance coverage for their items.
Yeah, the stuff that's in the truck is not covered for liability.
Interesting.
What we offer is not called insurance for that. That's called full value protection.
Ah.
Insurance companies hate when other people sell insurance. So you can't say that.
Okay.
As somebody who used to work for an insurance company,
Good insight.
they have to call it full value protection. So that means if we drop your TV, we're going to replace it. If it's broken, if we scratch your dining room table, we're going to repair or replace it. That's an option.
So it's an optional insurance that you can tack on there outside of
Yep.
what? Now, do you require that some people have a certain type of insurance with moving, or is that part of your package?
So we put it on everybody's estimate as a recommendation.
Okay.
And you have the right to waive it if you want
Okay.
to. And
Okay, that makes sense.
some people choose to do that.
How often do people do that?
It depends on where they're going and what kind of house you're in. Local, it's more common for people to gamble.
Okay, because that would be gambling. That would be kind of a risk unless you're like,
Well,
whatever.
people don't realize, people think the most damage happens on the truck. It happens in your doorway, going in and out of the
Going
house.
in and out. That's true. Trust me, I have the doorways to prove it. Yeah, seriously. Seriously. Oh my gosh, between the kids and everything else. We talked about insurance. So, ballpark estimates. I've seen just out there, when you go and you initially have a consultation with a client, I'm sure you give some type of ballpark estimate just based on a visual, which I think is extremely hard to do. So kudos to you to be
Thank
able to
you.
say, hey, this is what I think it's going to cost. Are there rules that, and maybe this, I don't know if this is company specific or just in general of the moving company industry, where they have to stick close to that ballpark, or is it the sky's the limit? And I had the appropriate term around here somewhere, but I don't remember what it is.
The way that it is dealt with in the moving industry is there's 3 terms you need to know. Is it a binding estimate,
That's what it was.
a non-binding estimate, or a not to exceed estimate?
Okay.
And depending on what type of estimate you ask for is going to impact kind of how people price things.
Okay.
So most of what we do, 99%, is called a non-binding estimate.
Meaning, hey, this guy can fluctuate a little bit.
Yeah, so a local move is done based on time and material. So we can't control the people
Right,
that
right, right, right.
have trouble
The
letting
way
go of
that
things
it
and
is
wanna be
dealt with
involved
in the moving industry
intimately
is there's
in their
3 terms you need to
moving
know.
and
Is it a
packing.
binding
That
estimate,
really can slow the process
a
down.
non-binding estimate,
If you're
or a not to
organized
exceed
and a
estimate?
well-oiled machine,
Okay.
and depending on
Great.
what
Good.
type of estimate
Good
you
to
ask
go.
for,
Now with
is
an interstate
gonna
move,
impact
everything's different.
kind of how
The
people price
standard,
things.
according to the
Okay.
Department
So most of what we
Transportation, and you
do,
can hire a mover who's not registered
99%
by the
is called a
Department of
non-binding
Transportation if you don't
estimate.
do your
Meaning,
research.
hey, this guy can
But
fluctuate a
anybody,
little bit.
yeah. So a a local
licensed
move
with
is
the Department
done
of
based on
Transportation
time and material.
has to
So
stick
we
within
can't control the
10%
people
Or
that
so
that
the-
have trouble
the
letting
way
go of
that
things
it
or
is
wanna be
dealt with
involved
in the moving
Wow.
industry
So
is
it's
there's
kind of
three
similar
terms you need to
as
know.
like a
Is it a
package.
binding
That
estimate,
really can slow the process.
a non-binding
Like
estimate,
Thursday
or a
happens
not to
organized
exceed
and a
estimate?
well-oiled machine.
Okay.
And depending on what type of estimate you
Good to
ask
go.
for,
Tempered
now
and
with
is
an interstate
Got
move
it.
impact
But obviously,
kind of how
if,
people price
you
things.
know, okay,
So
Smith is
most
like,
of what
hey,
we
oh, by
do,
the way, let's go ahead and tack on this
99%
$8,000
is called a
piano.
non-binding
That's
estimate.
meaning, hey, this guy
So
can
what
fluctuate a
anybody,
little bit.
yeah, so a
is
local
licensed
move
by
is done
Department of
based on
Transportation.
time and
Another
material.
document called
So
the
we
Statement
can't
Measurement.
control the
That's the
people
list of
that
So
that
the-
have trouble
the
letting
way
go of
that
things
it
or
is
wanna be
dealt with
involved.
in the moving
Wow.
industry
So
is there's
it's
three
similar.
terms you need to
Like
know.
I
Is it a
said.
binding
Ah.
estimate,
can slow the process.
a non-binding
Weigh-ins
estimate,
to
or a not to
Organized
exceed
and
estimate?
well-oiled machine.
Okay.
And depending on what type of estimate
Good
you
to
ask
go.
for,
Tempered
now
and
with an
standard.
interstate
Got
move
it.
impact
But obviously,
kind of how
if,
people price
you
things.
know,
Okay.
So
Smith is
most
like,
of what
hey,
we
oh, by the
do,
way, let's go ahead and tack on this
99%
$8,000
is called a
piano.
non-binding
That's
estimate.
meaning, hey, this guy can
But
fluctuate a
anybody,
little bit.
yeah, so a
is
local
licensed
move
by
is done
Department of
based on
Transportation.
time and
Another
material.
document called
So
the
we
Statement
can't
Measurement.
control the
That's
people
list of
that
have trouble
the
letting
way
go of
that
things
it
or
is
wanna be
dealt with
involved.
in the moving
Wow.
industry
So
is there's
it's
three
similar.
terms you need to
Like
know.
I
Is it a
said.
binding
Ah.
estimate,
can slow the process.
a non-binding
Weigh-ins
estimate,
to
or a
now.
not to exceed
Organized,
estimate?
well-oiled machine.
Okay.
And depending on what type of estimate you
Good to
ask
go.
for,
Tempered
now
and
with an
standard.
interstate
Got
move
it.
impact
But obviously,
kind of how
if,
people price
you
things.
know, okay,
So
Smith is
most
like,
of what
hey,
we
oh, by the
do,
way, let's go ahead and tack on this
99% is
$8,000
called a
piano.
non-binding
That's
estimate.
meaning, hey, this guy can
But
fluctuate a
anybody,
little bit.
yeah, so a local
Licensed
move
by
is done
Department of
based on
Transportation.
time and
Another
material.
document called
So
the
we
Statement
can't
Measurement.
control the
That's
people
list of
that
have trouble
the
letting
way
go of
that
things
it
or
is
wanna be
dealt with in the
involved.
moving
Wow.
industry
So
is there's
it's
three
similar.
terms you need to
Like
know.
I said.
Is it a binding
Ah.
estimate,
can slow the process.
a non-binding
Weigh-ins
estimate,
to
or a not to
Organized,
exceed
well-oiled
estimate?
machine.
Okay.
And depending on what type of estimate you
Good to
ask
go.
for,
Tempered
now
and
with an
standard.
interstate
Got it.
impact
But obviously,
kind of how
if,
people price
you
things.
know,
So
Smith is
most
like,
of what
hey,
we
oh, by the
do,
way, let's go ahead and tack on this
99% is
$8,000
called a
piano.
non-binding.
Got it. I got it. I fixed it. I'll have to edit that. Ha, 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 ha. All right, guys, let me know if the audio sounds a little bit better now.
Well, wait, stay on the phone until I'll confirm if you fixed it or not.
Okay. That's fine.
Why was it coming through twice?
Because I had the iPad plugged in on the show. Oh, by the way, no F-bombs here. We all know no F-bombs here.
That's why you've got to keep an eye in the chat.
You got it. Yep, that's what I'm doing. So I think we're good. Yeah. All right. Sorry, guys. I just want to say sorry about that audio. That was definitely a Rachel Blonde error. So let's just keep on rolling. All right. With that said, we talked about insurances. We talked about ballpark estimates. What is the standard time frame for a moving job? Is there like, hey, this is going to take, 2 days to get stuff on a truck? Or is there an idea of like how long it takes? Or do you guys try and do everything in one day?
Every job is different, and if anybody tries to tell you otherwise, they're going to be in trouble. For example, the house I was just at on my way here, I'm really sorry that I didn't get here until right when I was supposed to start.
I'm dealing with all of my behind-the-scenes audio errors anyway. So
Was for sure a 2-day move.
Are you serious?
So sometimes people will say I can do it in 1 day,
And
but
sometimes, yeah.
but what they're doing is they're just getting you to commit to hiring them. And then at 12 hours in, when the guys are tired and dropping stuff, they still got to come back the next day anyway.
And do it, and then, hey, guess what? That's going to count. So I'm just checking, making sure we're good. Oh, my gosh, you guys are so cute. So with that said, what's the worst thing that you've ever seen?
The worst thing that I've ever seen,
Other than the picture we just showed?
other than the picture that I just showed, or was just shown on there, it was not something that I've seen. It was something that happened. So we loaded a client's stuff up onto the truck, and we're about 3/4 of the way done when they get a phone call. Who's on the other line? Their realtor. What's the realtor say? Hey guys, I forgot to get the closing disclosure signed. So you're not going to be able to move into your new house for 3 days.
Okay. There's a whole thing that I would have to say on that, but I'm going to save that for another show. Technically, it's not the realtor's responsibility to have a closing disclosure sign.
The realtor was the one delivering the bad news. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, I got it.
So you cannot, just for the record, you cannot buy a house, sell a house, and move on the same day. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot buy a house, sell a house, and move on the same day. Don't do it. Bad idea.
Oh, you're saying that just don't, that's your advice.
Don't do it.
But if it happens or not is a whole nother situation. But no, it's a lot of stress. I mean, think about it. You're making some of the biggest financial decisions on one specific day, and then now obviously if you've done it a few times, and like you said, well-oiled machine maybe then, but that's probably
You should not
wise.
do it.
He's sticking to his guns. I love
Do
it.
not do it.
It's
And
so
the reason
much.
for it is because what you're having to do if you're trying to pull that off is you're having to rely on other people to run the show for you.
Correct.
Your mom, your dad, your brother.
Yeah.
And do you want them making decisions about where the furniture goes in your new house?
I would let my sister and no.
Well, then
Hopefully I don't watch this one. Okay, what's the oddest thing you've ever moved? What's the oddest? Thing appropriately
right here
that
on
you've
Main
ever-
Street, I got a phone call from a disabled veteran that
Aw.
had 16 tanks of fish and snakes. He had like 4 or 5 dogs.
Did you say no?
No, we moved him.
Oh, you did?
Thanked him for his service.
Did they all survive the move? The pets?
Yeah.
Oh, no
We-
snakes got lost?
We didn't move any of the animals. We just had to move all their all the tanks and cages.
Can you
and-
imagine if a snake got out in the moving truck? Holy
I
smokes.
can't. No.
That would
So
be
that's
so funny.
that's probably the biggest thing that people don't think about is what are you going to do with your dog?
I know,
on
but it's a
move day?
thing. You got to take care of your babies, but you don't think about stuff that are big items like that.
They're going to be stressed just like you.
Yes, they start to get a little bit more stressed than everybody else. Has anyone ever not claimed their stuff, been like, hey, I'm moving, hired you completely, and then just ghosted and not ever gotten their items?
We'll let you know when our next auction comes up.
Oh my gosh, I love it, I love it, I love it. That's crazy that people just well, I guess what if they don't pay you?
I was looking in our storage in our warehouse today at the longest thing that's been in there. Somebody's paid for storage for 12 years right now.
Are you serious?
12 years.
I'm kind of guilty. Not 12 years, but so here's the thing with our storage when we moved, and this was many moons ago. You don't realize that you can survive without your crap, and then when you go to get your crap, you realize that you don't need that crap and that you're better off without it.
When in doubt, throw it out.
That's seriously, and I've struggled with that. All my friends know, especially in my closet. If there's something that you've done okay with the past couple of months, you just don't need it. I know, I'm trying to get better about the kid stuff too. You know what I mean? Just all the paper stuff that I saved from the kids.
Yeah.
Like a hoarder. Have you ever had to move a hoarder?
So we have standards when it comes to cleanliness.
He's my favorite.
That's
Really?
the truth, yeah.
So have you turned down jobs because it's just hey, this is just a little bit too much for me?
Absolutely. If we see any rodent activity, any cockroaches,
Because I guess
we're out.
you can't, because you're putting that onto your vehicles,
Yep.
and you can't put other people's items, so it makes sense. These are things that you think about and you trust. You trust an entity like yourself to take care of, but you don't really think about it until you're in that position. Because I don't think I would ever want...
Well, I guess
know.
probably the most common question that I have gotten in regards to that would be what about bed bugs? You know,
Yes, what about that? Have you ever found them? What do? Do you have to fumigate?
I haven't run into any bed bugs in our clients.
Yeah, that's good to know. Good job, clients. Oh, with that said, fumigating and sterilizing and things like that, what is the procedures that you guys are doing with COVID now?
Yeah, so
Do you have a special thing that you guys are doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you
Everybody's
doing?
getting their temperature checked. Everybody's got to wear their masks. I guess the big things are sanitizing. So we are sanitizing the trucks, the iPads that everybody's doing their work on.
So much to go through. but-
all the surfaces in the office.
Yeah, and then of course, are the guys wearing their masks and everything else when they're moving stuff around?
That's the policy.
Right? The whole time?
So that's the policy. Remember, people go outside and take breaks and,
Yeah.
and things
Okay,
like
well,
that.
that's
But
normal.
everybody's required to fill out a questionnaire saying they haven't been around anybody with
Which is
COVID,
nice.
anybody
Which
with
is-
symptoms. Remember, benefits are important, and that's why it costs more money than you think to move somebody. Is if they're sick, we tell them to stay home.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And I think going through things like that kind of puts you and JK on a higher tier that offers clients that personal touch and that protection. And I feel like, like you said, there are different standards. And again, it all does fall back to you get what you pay for. And when you're moving items, guys, it's not like you're doing this day in, day out all the time. So I think it's worth it to put a little extra energy, effort, and money into choosing an appropriate moving company that's really going to hold your hand and take care of you, not only in the back end of things, but also your things and on the finish side of things, moving things out. Because that's a tough thing. I don't ever want to move again. I told my husband, if we win, when we sell, I think we'll just leave everything. We'll take the kids and each other and my makeup and clothes, and that's it. Everything else will stay. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and switch screens so you guys can see once again. Here we go. You can check out the logo so you see it. And then, of course, this is JK Moving Services and Rich Stewart. Here's his page, guys. I'm just going to show you his Facebook page because this is one of my primary ways that I like to reach my buddy. There he is right there.
Yep.
There you are.
Find me on Facebook,
Yep.
LinkedIn, Instagram.
LinkedIn, Instagram. And then do you have an email that people can reach you on?
Yep, it's rich.stewart@jkmoving.com. Pretty simple.
Rich.stewart@jkmoving.com. What's your phone number?
240-405-7027.
Not the 703, but there you go. So awesome. I will also link all that contact information down below, guys. Thank you so much for stopping
Thank you
by
for having
and
me.
dealing with my technical difficulties once again. It seems to be a common theme for Rachel Smith, so we're working on that to see what we can do.
We're
and I'm
just keeping it
checking.
real.
No, the green screen back on Rachel. Oh my goodness gracious, I love it. My buddy Stifle is so good. Any questions that you have, guys, feel free to drop a comment down below or reach out. You know how to find me. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you on the next show. Bye. Da-da-da, da-da-da. I gotta do my little dance as I...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. All right, let's see.